Today's topic is the difference between it and there. As we have mentioned it before, English and Norwegian are like cousins. In a way, they are very similar. And if you remember this family tree, you will see that English, right here, and Norwegian, down there, are very close to each other. They are close to each other on the tree, which means that they have very many things in common. And this gives you some advantages and some disadvantages. You might remember when you started learning English, some words were just very easy because they were so similar. Either they sound similar or they're even spelled the same way. For example, person or problem or test. So sometimes it's enough to add some English pronunciation and it will work just fine, even though it's a Norwegian word. However, in some cases, it's not going to work very well because words that sound similar or behave similar mean something completely different in English than in Norwegian. And you can find many jokes about this online. And akkurat det problemet, because det can be translated into English as it or there. You cannot really know up front because it looks exactly the same. The same det can be translated as these two. But they are not interchangeable. There is always a change of meaning, or the sentence becomes incomprehensible or very confusing if it and there are swapped. And they are really very frequent. Here I searched in a Norwegian corpus. Corpus is a collection of texts, and you can see that det er is found very, very often there. And the same goes for English corpus when I search for there is and it is. So both det and there and it are very frequent in both languages, but the use is very distinct. You have to know the rules, otherwise it will not make sense in English. So which one goes where? We'll first look at it, which comes in these 4 flavors: pronoun it, empty it, anticipatory it, and cleft it. And then we'll look at there, which has 2 flavors: existential there and locative there. You do not have to worry about the terminology, but I can already tell you that the first 5 are usually translated as det, while the last one is usually translated as dar. So you can see that you have 5 things to choose from. Some of them should be it, some of them should be there, and in Norwegian it will still be only det. So you need to know which one goes where in order to do it correctly. So where does it go? The pronoun it is probably the easiest one. It's something that's mentioned before, that is known or present in the situation. Basically something you can point to. And it can usually be replaced by the noun it represents. So for example, I bought a new car. It is parked just outside. The car is parked just outside. Can you hand me that book? It is right in front of you. The book I want is right in front of you. So you can see it points back in time to something that was said before. Then we have empty it, which as the name suggests, represents something that is not there, where there is no actor. It's sometimes also called the dummy it. There is nothing to point to and you cannot replace it by anything. And because of this, it's very often used for weather, for time, for distance, and so on, because you cannot really say he is raining or the cloud is raining. You say it is raining because there is no real actor to do the raining, or it's 4 o'clock, because there is no one doing the 4 o'clock. So this is the empty it. And then we have the anticipatory it, which is basically the opposite of the pronoun because it represents something that will come later. To anticipate means to expect something, so it is expected, it is anticipated, and that's why it's called the anticipatory it. You don't have to remember the term, just remember that the subject, the thing that it represents, will come later, and it's very often long. And it's very often a clause with that. So it is a shame that you cannot come. This clause, that you cannot come, is the actual subject. So we could say that you cannot come is a shame. But it's much easier, it flows better if we say it is a shame. Or it is good to see you. To see you is good. It is true that I said that. That I said that is true. You can move the long subject from the back to the front. The it represents something that comes later. The last flavor of it is cleft it. And you really don't have to worry about this too much because it's not that frequent, but it's used for emphasis. So if you want to stress one thing more than the other. So for example, it was my brother that broke the window. In spoken language, you would put a stress on that. It is the phone I lost, not the wallet. So you're stressing something with this cleft it. But as I said, it's not very frequent, so you can use it to stress something in your narrative or in your speech, but you don't have to worry about it too much. On the other hand, we need to know where does there go. And if we first look at the existential there, as the name suggests, it introduces something new. It refers to something that exists, and it can very often be translated as det finns, det existerar, det står, and so on. So if you are not sure whether you should use it or there, try to replace the it and there with det finns in Norwegian. If it makes sense, you should use there. For example, there are 3 people in the room. There is only 1 train before midnight. How many trains? Only 1. I didn't know. I'm introducing the new topic. There is only 1 train before midnight. There are some books for you on the table. I'm telling you that those books there are for you. And here you can see a very important difference between there and it. The first sentence, there is time to eat, means that we have enough time to eat. There exists time bubble enough for us to eat in it. While it is time to eat means that we should, or even we have to eat now. For example, your mom calling you for dinner, it's time to eat now. So these mean very different things, even though the only thing that changes is there and it. And the last thing, the existential there and agreement, this is something that you need to keep in mind because there doesn't have a number. We have already learned before that in order to use the correct verb, we need to know whether the subject is in plural or in singular. But since there doesn't have a number, we need to look somewhere else. We need to look for what is called the conceptual subject, the thing that there refers to. So for example, there are 3 people in the room. We are referring to the 3 people, so people plural, we need to use are. There is only 1 train before midnight. 1 train, singular, we need to use is. And the last one, there are some books. Books, plural, we need to use the plural verb. So it depends on what comes after, even though normally you would look in the front of a sentence for a subject, but there doesn't have a number. You need to look at what it actually represents. And now comes the last option, the locative there. As the name again suggests, it refers to a place, the location of something. And this translates as that, and it's usually very simple to get it right because it behaves similarly in Norwegian. So there I met the king on that particular square. Stop there, please, I'm pointing some place where you should stop. Or there are 2 books there. Here we have both theirs in one sentence. The first one is the existential one. I'm telling you that there exist some books. And the second one, I'm pointing where they are located. And now we'll look at some exercise to see if you get it right.